So I guess we can start. Hello, and thanks for coming. My name is Kirill, and I'm working as a head of applications at Mews. One of our products is a kiosk application for hotels that basically allows guests to do self-check-in, buy additional products and services, and so on. Developing kiosk application is slightly different from creating a common user-oriented application. So I'd like to share some experience we've gained while developing this app. First of all, what is a kiosk application? The idea behind it is rather simple. Kiosk app is an application that is designed to always run full screen and does not allow the user to exit the app. That means that based on that, we can define the following requirements for the app. First, it must run full screen. No status bar is needed. Second, user cannot exit the app. That means that home and recent apps buttons are disabled or not visible at all. Also, we would like to have some non-manageable application. App shouldn't require any kind of management. It should just follow setup and forget policy. Besides that, we would really like to control how the app is updated. And basically, there should be some simple way to set up the device. That means that following single responsibility principle, we actually need two applications here. First one is the kiosk app itself. It's what user sees, what he interacts with. This app doesn't even need to know that it's running in kiosk or full screen mode. Theoretically, you can just install and run this app alongside with any other apps. For example, in our case, that means that this application can be used by hotel staff to just use them on a tablet alongside with any other apps and just fill in guests' registration data by themselves. And the second app is a control app that logs device into kiosk mode, also manages updates, gives needed permissions, etc. This app knows about our kiosk app and basically controls it. In any case, the first app is something that we need to develop ourselves because it basically should implement the business logic of our solution, right? But what about the second application? Is it something that is already implemented? Is it something that we could just use as a ready-to-use app? Well, actually it is. It's called Android Enterprise or Android for Work, or generally speaking, it's Enterprise Mobility Management. Besides Google itself, there is a whole bunch of EMM providers that allow organizations to control and manage enterprise devices. Please raise your hands who knows what is EMM app and who maybe use it already. Yeah, there are some people. So actually, what is EMM provider? Basically, we can call it a device management system. That's software that allows you to control enterprise devices that may be actually managed by your organization, but you allow users to use them for work and for any other purposes. It can install updates and apps remotely. It can log specific settings on these devices and so on. For example, here's a description of Google Cloud Identity Service that actually acts as an EMM provider. Unify identity, device, and app management to keep data secure with easy-to-set-up device management for Android, iOS, Chrome OS, and other devices. Simply enable from the admin console to secure and manage Gmail, Google Drive, and other mobile apps. And you can view graphs and reports about mobile usage and trends at any time in the reporting section. So, does that mean that we can just integrate some kind of third-party EMM provider into our solution? Well, actually not at least in our case. There are two ways of using EMM provider. Either we create an organization ourselves but that basically would mean that we should manage and control all the devices that are installed as end devices in hotels. I guess neither we nor they would actually be happy about that if we can control their apps, their devices. Another way would be to hotel itself integrate Google or third-party EMM provider into their workflow. While this could be even a preferable option for some hotels, if, for example, they already use this EMM provider and control their work devices and so on, in that case, we can just provide them our application as a single package, and that would be already their responsibility to install it, to control it, to manage their devices, and so on. But in the majority of cases, hotels are not using some kind of EMM providers, and this would really be tricky for them to integrate rather complex solution and use it if they just need to set up one device. Really, all these EMM solutions are rather complex systems. Like there are something that HRs would call overqualified for our use case. We need a much simpler functionality, and that means that we need a much simpler solution as well. So, keeping it simple and straightforward, we need for the hotel to grab some Android device, install our application by following some simple steps. For example, it could be scanning QR code, and that's all. Forget about managing the device. It should just work. That means that we need to develop these controller applications as well. So, how does it work from the user and developer points of view? As I mentioned, the overall solution consists of the app itself and a special companion app, which is called Device Policy Controller app or DPC app. DPC app is responsible for things like giving main app permission to enter lock screen mode, to enter full screen mode, to update the main kiosk app, and set the device configuration. That can, for example, mean that we lock the user, we forbid the user to change network data in time, and so on. So it's basically the application that controls the device itself. And because of that, it can be installed either on a new or factory reset device using one of the special provisioning methods. These methods include managed Google Play accounts, NFC provisioning, or QR code provisioning. There are also some other methods, but they are not such nice. Actually, not all of these methods are suited for us as well. For example, managed Google Play accounts, as I've already told, we cannot control other users' applications. We cannot control devices installed in hotels. And not all hotels want to be forced to use Google accounts. Another option would be to use NFC provisioning. And the nice option about that is that it can be used with Android 5+. But the drawback here is that you actually need two devices with NFC support. And one of them should use a special NFC programmer app, which also needs to be written separately. Another problem with this solution for us is that it's hard to find a 10-inch tablet with NFC support. And actually, nowadays, it's becoming a problem to find any 10-inch tablet, especially after Google announced that it cancels producing Pixel tablets. And it basically makes installation process rather complicated because the user also needs to install somehow this NFC programmer app to bump the devices and do this installation process. That's why we decided that we will only support Android 7+, where you can use a seamless DPC app installation, just using the QR code scanning. Once the DPC app is installed on the device, and since it's installed as a device owner application, it has more privileges comparing to a common app. Once it's installed, it takes care of everything else. It can download main app and can install it. It can grant required permission for this app, check for updates, start on device boot and launch main app, and so on. In order to do that, you need to generate a QR code. Basically, it's just a JSON data with some service info and some additional values that you want to be provided to your app. In our case, we generate this QR code in our main web application. In that case, user just needs to boot a new or factory reset tablet and follow some simple procedure like tap 6 times on welcome screen that will launch the device into provision mode, connect to Wi-Fi network, and just wait for the tablet to install QR scanning application, and then just user scans QR code, and DPC app is installed and does all the rest. Actually, the cool point for us here is that hotels don't need any additional software. Since they are already using our property management systems, they just have an additional section there where they can set up required parameters, like, for example, final message displayed to the user, or whether they want the user to allow to change the room when he's checked in, or to buy additional products, and so on. In this section, they also have this generated QR code, which they scan only once during tablet installation. We also supply the the special configuration ID within this QR code, which is saved by the main application. So that means that whenever they change some parameters later in the configuration section in the property management system, they no longer need to update and to reinstall the app itself. All the settings will be just updated. Another point is that no matter how good your application is, you still need to update it from time to time. Unfortunately, we cannot rely on Google Play mechanism to deliver app updates. First, our app is always in foreground. And second, we need users to receive updates as soon as possible, but not in the middle of check-in process. So that means that we need to control it, and we need some custom solution for update as well. The update mechanism for us is rather simple. We just upload each new release into Azure storage that has nice and simple to use Java API that turns this storage service into something like simple REST API service, which basically is exactly what we need for retrieving new version. We can even organize something like different channels like beta, stable, etc. for testing, just using different folders in Azure storage, and just set the DPC application to look into these folders. The process looks like this. First, DPC app checks for new releases in Azure storage, for example, once per hour. And if there is a new version, it downloads it and notifies main app that the update is available. Whenever main app receives this notification, it just waits for a convenient moment. For us, it means that, for example, user has already checked in and returned to welcome screen, so the tablet is currently not in use. When this moment arrives, main app sends back a notification to DPC app and enters a special updating mode. So now it's the responsibility of the DPC app to update the main app's APK and just to relaunch it. That's how it looks from the user-developer point of view. And now I would like to share our approach to continuous delivery and deployment. Basically, it's like just any other standard CI/CD process, but there are some slight modifications to adapt our specific requirements. We normally use separate branches for every task we work on. So all issues, all new features go through pull requests in GitHub. Each pull request and each next commit to it just triggers TeamCity job to build the APK. And this APK is uploaded to Fabric beta service so that QA team can install and verify it. And here comes another advantage of splitting our solution into two independent apps. Since kiosk application is a standalone app, QA can install and use it without going through the whole setup process with scanning QR code and so on. Whenever they need to use a different version, they just work with it as if it's a common application. Once the issue is verified and pull request is reviewed, it's merged into the master branch, which again triggers TeamCity build. But this time, the APK is uploaded to Azure storage using our custom Gradle plugin. It's really a simple plugin. It's something around 100 lines of codes, but we decided that it can be useful for somebody else. So we've open sourced it, and it can be found here. And basically, that's all. The PC app just checks for new releases in Azure storage, downloads new version, and updates the main app. Or we are actually using this mechanism to update the DPC app itself as well. Now, I would like to share my personal opinion as a developer about advantages and drawbacks of developing a kiosk application. What we found easier or harder comparing to normal app development. First of all, the common source of pain for Android developers is actually the platform distribution. For example, this is how Android version distribution looks like for a common app. It's an official statistics from Android developers website. But due to the fact, as I've already said, we are supporting only Android 7+, we can drop the support for lower Android versions and just get this nice picture of distribution of Android versions for our kiosk applications. Another moment, like working in offline mode, caching data, processing large amount of data, all of it are rather complex problems, and there are a lot of tools to manage this complexity. For example, you can use Realm, Cloud Firestore, you can fall back to using a built-in SQLite library in Android. Anyway, there's a lot of things that need to be thought about. But since in kiosk application, all the data we need just live within a short user session, we don't need any persistent storage per se. And basically, there are no huge amounts of data, so we can store and process them in RAM only. Like, this may sound like an obvious way, but it's really a nice moment when you just realize that you don't need to think about what object relational mapper you need to choose simply because you don't need this at all, because there is no relational data. But can we really consider kiosk app development as something like light version of a common app development process? Not really. Something is actually more complicated. And the main thing here is memory management. Yes, it's a rather important moment for a common app as well, but it's even more important for a kiosk application. Because if for a common business app, an average session can hardly be more, let's say, than half an hour. And after that, the app usually goes to background where the operating system can just kill it, like we can be forgiven for small memory leaks. But for a kiosk application, app can stay in foreground for several days in a row. And that means that even like small memory leak can actually lead to a out of memory error. So tools like leak canary library, it's not just nice to have library, but it's actually crucial here. Another moment is that if, for example, Firebase Analytics is very good for common use cases because it cares about sessions automatically. It has some predefined settings for things like user retention, for conversion, engagement, and so on. For a kiosk application, it doesn't work like this. For example, session has slightly different meaning. For us, session starts at the moment when user presses start button, when he starts this check-in process, and ends when the reservation is checked in and user has returned to welcome screen. That means that we basically need some manual session management, but there is no way to do this in Firebase Analytics. Right now, we are using plain old Google Analytics for manual session management. But unfortunately, it's deprecated. It's going to be closed on November. So we were also looking into some third-party analytics systems, but they also are mostly tuned for common apps and common use cases. The best solution we can think of right now is to use raw Firebase Analytics data and export them in tools like Google Data Studio or Power BI and just process them manually there. So we are working in that direction. Another moment like that should be taken into account. You should be ready to find a whole bunch of weird bugs of some uncommon and undefined behavior that actually nobody else cares about. And that means that nobody will ever fix them. Because for a common app, it can be considered as a really corner case. For example, there was a lock screen problem in Samsung that we've encountered. Imagine the following situation. You have an app that has a permission to start in a lock task mode, and initial activity launches with Android lock task mode if whitelisted. This is a common situation for a kiosk application because you really want to lock this tablet into kiosk mode. Next, your app starts on device boot. Again, this is a common situation for a kiosk because you want, once the tablet is rebooted, the app to be auto-launched. Next condition, your app has locked screen orientation defined in manifest, which is, again, a common way and a common use case for a tablet kiosk application. And you don't unlock the device until the app has launched. So you just turn on the tablet and leave it like it is. Yes, the app will be automatically launched, but that means that Samsung, for example, will just ignore that you defined in manifest that your app should be landscape orientation only. So if you rotate the device, your layout will be rotated. I've created a minimal project to reproduce this bug. I've created a post about this problem at Samsung Developers Forum. It was about 1 year ago. So guess how many replies did I get? Yes, it was 0. In our case, the solution was actually rather simple because we've just disabled the key guard in the application. Luckily, Android allows us to do that without interacting with user. There was another unobvious moment. For example, Android doesn't allow all windows to be non-focusable. What does it mean? We've encountered this problem while developing a custom keyboard for our app. Since custom keyboard is basically just a normal widget, it's not some kind of write input method editor that is like launched in a separate process that is controlled by the operating system. It's just a widget inside our app. That means that we need to disable default Android keyboard. It's a rather tricky process to do, because basically Android is not intended that somebody would like to do that. So mainly all the ways to achieve this are rather hacky. But anyway, one of the ways assume that we are using flag not focusable on a window. Basically, you are saying to the application that this window that you are controlling, it should not, it is not intended for receiving some kind of touch inputs, some kind of keyboard inputs. But for some reason, Android doesn't like when no window in application at all is focusable. And the most weird behavior about this is that it just freezes the UI when some input method editor event is sent to the device. It can be, for example, pressing the hardware back button on the device. It can be even the device shaking because it triggers something like cancel event. So basically, any of these events will just lead to application not responding without even some crash or something like this. So we just have to take into account that main window should always remain focusable. But despite all these drawbacks, I find developing kiosk app rather straightforward process. There is really a lot of support from Android itself lately. I remember several years ago, while I was working for another company, we were also developing some kind of kiosk application that just was used for controlling tablets, locking the tablet into parental control mode that can be like controlled by a user for like basically it was some kind of kid's tablet. Back those days, Android 2 was still the most popular version, so we needed to support it, and it was actually a lot of pain. There was no built-in full screen mode. There was no things like provisioning up, like controlling it remotely, no kiosk mode. So it was really built on top of hacks. For example, we decided to run timer in background that would just trigger once per second and check currently which activity is running in the foreground. And if it's the wrong activity, we just like bring our activity in the foreground. At least Android was very much more loyal to developers back those days, so such hacks could at least exist. But nowadays, Android really takes care of some painful moments, and especially if you have a possibility to support only latest Android versions, like in our case, the process of kiosk app development can be rather smooth. And it's still getting better over time. Basically, that's all. Surely all of these subtopics can be discussed for a long time, but I hope that I've managed to show some quick overview of what it looks like to create a kiosk app from inside, and to describe some not always obvious moments that come through during the development. If you have any questions, please ask now, or actually feel free to find our team, me or Sebastian, somewhere around here. And of course, you can write us an email using the contacts you see on the screen. Thank you.